Emeravwe walks silently beside the tall man as they pass through towering iron gates into a vast bustling courtyard. The yard was paved with smooth yellow cobblestones and encircled by soaring walls of imperial gold granite. Though it had not been long since daybreak, the court clamored with horses, guards and people, merchants with goods, workers and officials in stately attire. Guards in deep orange uniforms marched about, directing people to different lines, where both their goods and person were checked before they were allowed further entrance. Emeravwe stuck fearfully to her guide's side. She walked calmly and unobstructed through the commotion, but she jumped and started as cars clattered by and guards shouted instructions. She quickened her anxious steps to stay close to him, unnerved at the sight of so many people and so much bustle. At the end of the enclosure, the man led a door, another set of dwarfing gates. They stepped onto a wide passageway, hedged by the imposing gold granite walls. The walls were perforated intermittently by archways on either side, and as it continued down the passage, the noise of the courtyard faded behind them. All that was audible was the soft tapping of their sandals on the cobble Emeravwe distanced herself from the mannequin, fearful tears pooling in her eyes. Where is he taking me? Where is mother and father? And she weeps, the tears falling. She cried because of chronic pain, which had been throbbing in her head for months, and because she was afraid. She missed her mother and father, but whenever she tried to recall them, only faint images appeared, and they were always followed by memories of screams. She shook her head, wheeling away these memories, and the throbbing worsened. She cried out, holding her head as a wave of pain rippled through her skull. She did not want to remember. Hearing the cry, her guide stopped to face her. He was clothed in a long silken brown robe, a rich yellow cloth brocaded with golden suns, flanked by crescent silver moons wrapped around his head and forehead. The loose ends of the headcloth were wound, so they covered gently touched the sheer yellow headscarf which covered her head. Emeravwe flinched. She looked up through big terrified gray eyes. Fear not, my lady, the man said softly, you are safe here. Stared nervously at him, at the long face and dark brow, the notable hazel eyes. He was the one who had taken her from her family. He had taken her to an inn and left her in the care of the owners until this morning. She tried to remember who he was, but her headache intensified. The pain blurred the man's image. We turned from her and continued on, replacing the cloth around his face. Emeravwe hastened to keep up, afraid to be left alone. The passage opened onto an extensive circular courtyard, laid with concentric smooth slabs of alternating white and yellow stones. At the center was an island of green lawn, fringed by clear ponds shaped like crescent moons. In their middle, the ponds held marble fountains from which gurgled crystal waters. At the center of that green island was a golden statue in the shape of a flaming sun, with the roaring dragon all of these ladies who respectfully stepped aside to allow the men passage. They bowed their heads and bent their knees, uttering the greeting eagle, to which the men answered friendly and gestured for them to rise as he and Emeravwe walked by. They came to a building with a white patio, flanked by robust ponytail, palm and low-trimmed bushes on the patio. Girls attired in pink stood patiently in groups of threes, their hands folded in the diapered sleeves of their outer robes. One girl in pink stood on a stone landing before the building's double doors. As the man and Emeravwe approached, the girls all bent their knees and bowed their heads, pronouncing in unison, Migorori. The man responded, Friendo, rise. He addressed the girl at the doors. Inform the road, that I request their audience. Yes, Aurori. The girl bent her knees in response and entered the building. As Emeravwe and the man stood waiting on the patio, some of the girls noticed her glued to his side. They gasped and turned to their peers with whispers. This caused more of the girls to notice her, and Emeravwe heard exclamations of the valid child. She did not know what they meant, but their eyes and whispers unnerved her. So she unwittingly drew closer to the man, hiding herself in the soft folds of his robe. The double doors of the building opened and a group of women emerged from within. They were dressed in identical deep blue garments, covered by a sheer outer robe. The robe was fastened in place with a gold and silver brooch in the shape of a sun, flanked by crescent moons. On their heads were matching sheer blue headscarves with white bands which covered their foreheads. At the sight of them, the girls in pink immediately ceased their whispers and composed themselves. The women, noticing the man on the patio, greeted him as the girls had done. Then each triplet of pink-clad girls rallied behind one woman and made their way from the building. Good morning, Aurori, a portly woman addressed the man as she. And her triplet walked past him. She peered deeply at him as if trying to see through the cloth covering its face. It is quite rare for a eunuch of the inner palace to be seen in the outer palace, much more in the maiden's